Good day, beautiful family. A pleasure to be here with you on this wonderful Thursday evening. We've got wonderful Michelle here with us tonight. If we could have a little mic check, it would be great. If you could just put some thumbs up in the comments or a good yes, that would be wonderful. Sounds good, and you can hear us. Beautiful. Well, we're going to bring these live sessions with YouTube more often, probably once a fortnight with Sister Michelle and I, and we're going to be keeping them to 1 hour. So this will be finishing around 9:10 UK time. If you have any questions, put them in the comments, and if you don't, then stay very silent.
I have my lovely blue light glasses on today.
Yeah, she's protecting her eyes. So it's wonderful to see you all in the comments with us. Bless you all for being here. Finn has the first question. What does entertainment really mean? Not to sound too glum, but if you really observe, the most entertainment is truly busying up the mind and jazzing it up, it seems. Tain, if you look at the word tain, comes from tainted. Ment is obviously mind, and enter is to come forth with. So I would say the meaning behind the word entertainment is, one, to entertain the mind, but entertaining you is slightly tainting the mind with concepts. And I'm sure most of you are aware, who are with us within the X family, that to be pure and clean from concepts is what it means to be enlightened, to let go of the concepts that we hold, that we get identified with within our personal beliefs, that keep us separate from the true knowing and never truly feeling and knowing our true source. So we'll keep them short and sweet today. So I would say there is your answer, Brother Finn, and thank you for the first question. Does making your desire a goal make it easier to manifest? Not really. Setting a goal is a wonderful thing if it doesn't cause conflict within the mind. See, and a desire that someone has is to feel and resonate as if they are without. So a desire will actually halt the progress, leaving you in duality, and a pain body experience will be manifest within you. But to recognize you have a target, using your own contemplation and having an intention set so strong that it will naturally come into fruition. So I'm sure that everyone here has come to the spiritual information that you attract that which you truly are. And this is essentially meaning you resonate at a certain frequency, and surrounding us is the field. And the frequency that you resonate at brings the experience in. Most people don't really have the ability to keep their intention on things for longer than a few seconds to a few minutes, because the mind is always at the forefront. It's shifting and shaping and presenting ideas to us in a form of a relayed commentary that keeps us actually from the momentary presence. This is essentially what the ego does. So I would say is just have an intention in your heart that you wish to see within the world, and know deep within that this is happening, will happen, and you'll resonate at that frequency. And the most important thing we can do is stay very positive and not let the mind bring in the questions of what if during that process of manifestation. But it's a real art.
Very much.
I don't know if you have anything you would like to add to that, Michelle?
I think you've covered everything there.
Okay.
We had some questions before we started this, just on some of our other accounts, and it was about with regards to a lot of beings that are with us are on a transformational journey at the moment.
Gym
and food.
And a food level up or fasting. And well done to everyone who is embarking on this incredible journey with us.
So lovely to have you all with us.
Seeing everybody post and share their food, their juices, and what they're going through. Yeah, it's incredible.
So a few beings have contacted us and said about as they're making this transition to level up, that they're finding different results on the scales, especially when they're training with like resistance and weight training. So a lot of beings will experience this initially. As you start lifting weights, you do put on muscle relatively quickly, especially if your body's pretty clean already. So the scales are not necessarily a good judge in the first couple of weeks. So
especially if they're electronic as well.
We would recommend leaving it a good month before you do a reweigh, because of that imbalance. You're going to be really pumping the muscles up, and that's going to help to put on weight. So you won't see a massive change, and sometimes you even go up in weight over the first couple of weeks of weight training. So don't get disheartened if the scales are going the wrong way, if that's your goal.
If it's truly your goal to lose body fat and acquire a significant amount of muscle and strength during this training regime, then the best way to do the recording process would be using body fat calipers
and pictures, because photos you can actually see the difference, the change in the body composition, because you will be losing fat and gaining muscle, and the muscle weighs quite a bit heavier. So, if you look at online, there's a few pictures of the fat, how much the fat weighs and the size of it, and how much the muscle weighs, and it's a similar weight, but the volume size of it is incredibly different. So don't be disheartened by the scales. I would recommend doing photos, measurements, and as Josh mentioned, the calipers. Also, if you are changing your food, or the intake of food, or you're going to juicing, your body can hold on to water initially when you make that change through to a different way of eating, or going to fasting water initially. So the first couple of weeks is just not a really good indication of what's going to happen in the future. So keep going with it. It really does work, and you can feel the difference between when you started and up until now. So really do keep pressing on with what you know to be right and true.
Yeah, or just go through the experience with a small amount of patience and observation, because you're never truly going to know, but questions will arise from the mind because it's impatient by nature. So we try to distill that, stay very present, and know that the journey has to be walked by each and every one of us to truly know. Otherwise, someone else's word is just going to be a belief, and we're here to point you to that great knowing within inside yourself, rather than give you another belief to hold on to, which doesn't truly help you. It may be pointing in the right direction, but truly you guys will know when you have experienced it.
And that's the same with these questions. A lot of beings are saying, I know that it's not true what I'm seeing on the scales, as in the weight wise, but I feel so much better, stronger, healthier, fitter. The goals are coming, but don't be disheartened by standing on the scales and thinking I should have lost this, or I should be in this range, or because shoulda, woulda, coulda, and it's never really the way that we should look at things. Is how we feel, how not necessarily how the look is or how we want it to be, and it's just the journey, about the journey that we get to, the baby steps towards what we want to achieve in the long term. And then we look back at the short term and we think, well, yeah, actually we've made some really good progressions there.
Just allow the mind to dissipate the idea of wanting it now. And again, you'll truly know. We have a question here that says, I'd love to grow all my own fruits or food. However, winter here is very cold. -2 here right now. Fruits do not keep long. Do you have any suggestions on the diet? You know, if you don't live in the temperate zone, the diet has to be kind of according to where you are and the best foods that you can do at any particular time. I feel that's why it's so important not to keep fixated on a concept or a box that we can put ourselves in. You know, I'm whole food plant-based, I'm fruitarian, I'm vegan, I am a raw foodist. It's whatever you can do at any particular time, and give yourself that space to be able to just be doing the best thing in each moment. Now, we find that when we're in the UK in these cold months, that fruit doesn't really ripen. You're kind of limited to grapes, apples, pears, and oranges. And then obviously you have the staples like the cucumbers and the tomatoes and things like this. So if you have to just change your diet according to where you are when it's cold, like putting in some vegetables, or you're starting to cook, just introduce it into your system slow and steady, and then increase the volume over time. And then you'll find that your body gets used to it. And in no way, shape or form are you going to be doing yourself any damage. Unless you're trying to heal a chronic illness or an imminent disease, then you're going to be absolutely fine on a whole food plant-based diet as your baseline.
I think the worst thing that can happen with the internal environment is feeling stressed that you've done something wrong with food, or general tasks or anything, because the chaos that you can create with the internal environment will be a lot worse than eating something cooked if you feel like you should be raw, because you're feeling guilt and you feel like you shouldn't have done it, and then it really snowballs from there. So it's really about being balanced within. So all of those words like aligned and balanced and centered, and this is what we try to promote, more of a holistic way of living, where you're trying to take into consideration every aspect, rather than just really focusing on, I got to get my food right, and then making all of the rest of the systems in panic. We really want to go across board and be balanced with all of those aspects.
Otherwise, you're boxing yourself. Your consciousness is becoming trapped in the ideas that you have about yourself. So in each moment, we need not think about what we are going to do later. We just acquire a certain level of standard. For example, our shelves in our house are stocked with a certain acquired food system, and then we go there and we take no thought to it. It's just the best way to live. I see that we have a young 8-year-old with us today. With your auntie. Bless you. Thank you. Listen to your auntie.
So we've got something on cravings here. Through the winter, I always find that I need something a bit warmer. We've just recently put out a juice soup recipe on our website as well, and that really helps. I think even just lightly warming your juices or your soups, they really help to
warm the body,
take off that chill aspect.
When you're consuming fruits without even considering juicing, the body temperature naturally drops. This is why the equatorial zone is a lot warmer, because fruits naturally are produced in this area. Thus, our body temperature doesn't need to be higher from the foods we're digesting, and it works a little bit cooler. And the next level is when you go to juice. Your body is really not digesting anything, and the system becomes very cooling. So in these winter months, when you're going through a fast, something like, it remains raw. We're not heating it to a certain extent. We're actually using a bain-marie, and we've got some water underneath bubbling away, which we're stirring this juice until it's a temperature that is just warm enough to drink.
And yes, the cravings for the sides and desserts this time of year. We see some yummy treats there.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to make your basic cake. Really, all you need is those few ingredients of dates, maybe coconut, and some.
If you're looking for the chocolate flavour, you're going to be using carob would be the optimum. It's not a nervous system stimulant, and it is probably the most beneficial out of all of the chocolate flavours.
If you are trying to stay raw, though, it has got a heated treatment to it. So, just have a look into these things and see what one suits you best for your journey at that particular time. And it's very easy to make treats that are healthy and don't contain all of these toxins and chemicals that.
Just like an advent calendar we've recently done on our website. For little X, we removed all the chocolates inside of an advent calendar, washed it out, and then replaced them with Michelle's own recipe, and put them in the freezer. The molds of the chocolates that were like Santa or a boot or a Christmas tree, they come out perfectly, so your children don't have to miss out on any of this festive fun, this wonderful time of year where everyone comes together. They can still enjoy a healthy, lovely tasting snack, and look forward to getting up first thing and opening the door to the next day.
That's a question there.
Yeah. And I was going to say, while we were just touching on food, no matter where you are on your food journey, you may have addictions, you may still be consuming chocolate, cheese, you may still be smoking cigarettes. I'm sure that most of you aren't, but if you are, there's no need to beat yourself up about it. The more you become aware of the things that you're doing, you don't actually need to make a change. It's that awareness of these things will naturally unfold this change within yourself.
And the slow and steady approach is always the way that you're going to make progression here, because trying to cut out too many things at once or too quickly you'll go up peak and then it'll be a huge crash again. So really try to make the steps that you feel ready to and you feel comfortable with.
Because it's your journey. You only have yourself to challenge, This is why it's so important that we don't look for others to not necessarily inspire us to copy, because everyone is at different levels. And if you tackle this the right way within your own awareness, you'll end up coming higher from the slow and steady approach, which is the most important thing for everyone. So do not punish yourself within the mind. Allow yourself a huge amount of space to make changes as and when you become aware of them. We see so many people, don't we, who rush in from a Babylon standard Western diet into a fruit-based diet, and they not necessarily are able to continue that, and then the mind just comes in and it beats them down, really, which is something which is such a great approach. As you're unfolding and applying yourself to the food journey, you become more aware of the mind. And I think one of the first stages to a true spiritual awakening is actually realizing there is a voice in your head relaying your reality, which would be the ego or the mind. And this is just the intelligence that has picked up what it has seen, and it's presenting to you the idea of that situation that you're within, an answer for you, which, unless you're aware of it, you kind of identify with each and every thought, suffering, without the actual ability to choose whether you want to take that or not.
And if your friends or family aren't necessarily on this journey, it can be a little bit more difficult in respect that you haven't got that support network directly around you. But being and knowing your truth is very important to create balance within, because if you're doing something or being something that someone else expects you to be or to do, creates such an instability within. So if your journey is to go to fruits or do the gym, then you have to take that on board yourself and not have the worry of the expectation that's put on you to do something that you don't want to do. So in actual fact, it's very easy to work with your truth, but we just have to get past the fact that other people are thinking this of us or being like a certain way around us because they don't like what we're doing. Now, I remember, and I know Josh is the same, when it was Christmas before and I was doing I was heavily into fitness, I used to sit out in a separate room to everyone else eating their Christmas meal because they had their own little spread, and I didn't really have anything like that. So I kind of had to sit separately. So it was almost like I was segregated from the group. But now the benefits that I have from it, the aging process and the illnesses that they might have accumulated over the years, everyone's coming back now full circle and saying, oh, what should I do, and what do I need to do to get to this level of health? So, those kind of things are only for a very small amount of time. And then when the other beings around you see the light shining bright from you, they'll want to join in with that. There's no need to put pressure on other people to be the same as us. But if we show them and then we guide the way, then they will naturally want to follow that light. So even if people aren't on the same journey, friends and family initially with you, then they will see that from you, and the level of vibration that you will hold will be completely what they would like to be around. So it's very easy to help people follow after a while.
And if you've got an inquisitive or questioning fruit, for example, you're ready to receive the experience. Now, whether you walk on that experience and take that road simply without anyone else's input, that's down to you. And if you do live to your truth, then every time you do, you allow a thought demon to disappear, an attachment. And every time you don't align with your own truth, you will then uptake a thought demon or another attachment. And the more attachments we have, the more the mind becomes very noisy. If we identify with them, we become very much a sufferer. So living to your truth is going to be the most freeing and fulfilling life you can do, because what's being presented to you is within your field of awareness. And that field of awareness that's being presented to you is actually a content within the field, which will lead you then to stop identifying with objects or content, and you'll actually start identifying with the field that you are, which is a whole shift in the level of consciousness. This is essentially becoming free from the personification of yourself, realizing that everything external is actually coming from within. As the saying is, as within, so without. That saying means that everything without is actually coming from within. No one has ever seen through the eyes of somebody else. This is the experiencer. But how much and on what level do you choose to experience this? Do you experience it in the mind? Do you experience it in the moment? Or do you unify all of these things and realize this is consciousness itself, and you have all of these abilities, and you can enjoy each and every moment free from suffering?
And this is why we really promote truth with application, because as soon as you apply your truth and you walk that truth, this is where your whole world shifts. And not just in one aspect of food or fitness or following a certain journey. It has to be that holistic approach of what you know to be true. So hold it close and, really do that internal work of, knowing what you want and what's right for you and what's righteous for you, because going by what others around you expect has a certain amount of detriment on your being, because you're then, like Josh was saying, you're taking on board their expectation of you as a demon, and then you're having to deal with that chatter in the mind. So
the expectations of others and the others of what you may believe they have an expectation of you, it's just an internal dialogue, an internal conflict that you must create order within. This is the journey.
So if you take one aspect of, like, when I said I was sat away from the family when I was choosing to eat like that, for me there was nothing going on, because I was really happy eating my healthy food, happy and peace and balance. And all of the gossip that would go on behind those those aspects was nothing to do with me. That was their issue, and I was happy for them to come and speak to me about it. But at the same time, I was in bliss having that moment.
And you could identify with your thoughts and become the thought, and then have suffering within yourself, and then also that expresses externally internally within the environment, and your relationship with your family actually break down. And slow and steady evolution, and with certain pointings, can actually avoid the breaking down of your relationships and family. And usually once you've come full circle, you'll find that it's much more enjoyable to be around beings who have no concept of spiritual conceptualization, because we see a lot of spiritual ideologies, and a lot of people within the spiritual movement are actually just mimicking what they've seen as an idea, and there's no true spiritual value within. So the relationships that you have now with your family, with your friends, you don't have to try to manipulate or change them or give them your perception, because the ego, of course, believes that there's more power within your new information that you have. So you try to show them or express to them the power that you have found within them.
But the true showing is just your light, that you're shining so bright, because you hold that inner light. No one else can take that away from you. And I feel you guys, a lot of you speak of this on your journey. And, everyone's been there that has to come through that. And I really feel you, because it can be a real lonely place to be. There is a lot of expectation and a lot of disappointment from family members. Oh, I'm really disappointed that you've chose this way, and trying to make you feel a certain way. But if you continue to shine that light, they can't break that. The heart's too strong, and they either have to walk away from it or follow that light. And honestly, it gets so much easier the more that you
this is your world.
Your truth.
This is your world. You don't have to cater for anyone else's emotions. You say your truth. If it affects somebody holistically, it's actually for the evolution of everyone, because your truth, or speaking your truth in a virtuous way, causes a reaction within those that don't align it, and they then have to have a mental or a attachment, let's say,
but
which will then help
free.
them, is setting them free. If you continue to, sweet talk over their ideas and accept them, they have the power. This raises their ego. So the truth actually has this universal balance across the board, which will in turn set others free if you act upon your own individual truths.
So these ancient sayings of like the truth will set you free, the time is now, all of these things are very much in tune with our inner balance, our inner peace. And this is how we spread that love, that universal love, is by being honest, truthful, and not stepping back or stepping away from what we know is true. Not what we believe, but what we know for our own being is true. It may be different for someone else, and being kind and virtuous and loving in a way that, if their truth is completely different to yours, you can still sit and have a meal around the same table.
If you have an idea that you shouldn't, or there's some thoughts that are going within, it's going to make you suffer, make you angry, make you feel like these emotions actually are there to show you where you're blocked with inside your illusions. So we give our attention away from the mind into the present moment continually as a practice. And over time, the attention slips from mind to presence. You'll see it's just a wonderful practice that each and everyone can do it. When Michel said lonely is a concept, it's an idea. You could be in a house alone painting this wonderful masterpiece. I use painting because attention seems to be so focused on the art that's being created. Whether you're a musician or you're into watching films and you're so focused, there's no idea of loneliness. It's only when the thought arises and you identify with the thought of the pre-conceptualized idea of what being lonely is, do you then suffer. And it's the word oneness in the alone is we are all one. But this has to be recognized within. And someone had a question about revelations. Revelations, the word revelation is R-Eve. R is 18, which is a representation of reciprocation, magnetism. Then you have Eve, which is to even, and the L-at-ion. Now, I should have probably wrote the word down so we can make sure I'm not missing anything out. You Yeah, revelation is R-EL-eve-8-ion. L is number 12. It's also the root Sanskrit word for God. There are two L's, or the representation in language is AL, alpha, and EL, which is ether, the red and the blue shift. AL being red and EL being blue. But revelations come when you're balanced within your field at an energetic level. So ion is energy, T is physical, A is the alpha, L is this circle of energy, Eve and R. So revelations will come when one is absolutely balanced in homeostasis within the mind and body, allowing this spiritual connection to naturally manifest, or the etherical or right side of our brain will then naturally fruit. When we identify personally, we're so fixated within the physical world, we rarely get a chance to touch this other aspect of this human nature.
The pureness of it, because it's not there when the ego is chatting. It's very hidden amongst the chatter.
There's no expression within the chatter. It's just a recycling of information that has been seen, or ideas that have been seen, or experiences that have been had. There's predictive nature of the future. There's regret or worries about the past, ideas that you need to forgive or get forgiven by others.
There's anxiety, depression, and these are all past and future tense. Not many beings can say, I am very, very present all the time. It does take an aspect of stepping away from that chatter, doesn't it? We did it in Spain.
Observation and dedication to that which is true will lead you to a space of natural unfolding within yourself. So how does someone know if they are awakened or enlightened? It's you'll be having this inner revelation after the next. How do you know if someone else is enlightened, or how can you tell? You try to pick them or say something which might ignite their ego, and if they stay remaining in a calm, balanced state and unaffected, that's a great sign.
It's very interesting to, once you've come through the level of the ego playing quite strongly, it's very interesting to see what triggers yourself. So working on the self is very interesting, I find, because when you no longer find that triggers are there, it's such a freeing aspect of that balanced behavior, because what you're seeing is no longer the reactiveness. So reacting is like an act from the ego,
which is your character, which is your person.
But when you're responsive and you're responding to someone with presence, it's a completely different exchange of energy. And you can really feel that deep. And when the switch happened for us, it was really incredible, because it happens really quickly once you can see that aspect of the ego and stop coming from reacting to responsive, and the act then just drifts away.
Yeah,
it really does.
Being responsive in relationships is a very important thing. We can tell one another to do something or not to do something. And then if the other does it because we have an idea that we've told them, now we react because they shouldn't have done it because we've told them. And now you're having this internal dialogue. The expression is external also. You have this argument, you have a heated discussion, you have this elevated state of anger within you. But this has come from the ideas that you have. So just letting go of the idea. You don't have to identify with it and say they shouldn't do this because I'm like this and they know me, etc. This is just the internal dialogue and the identity that we've created.
And that aspect of the relationship, it can be with children, adults, elderly. It's all part of the holistic journey again, because we tend to speak to children in a different way. our partners in a different way, family members, people that we don't know. There's a lot of fake talk when people meet other beings that they don't know.
Small talk.
Acting, awkwardness, and all of that is just an act to please another being.
Try to get someone else to like you in a certain way because you feel you need the appreciation.
So it's very freeing when you don't have to put on an act anymore, and then other beings, they put you in a certain position in society. So it's very nice to have that freedom of not having to play up to a certain act, not being put on a pedestal or having anyone lower. It's the hierarchy of society, isn't it, that likes to happen here, with either money or fame or age.
Money is evil. People have this concept that money is evil, or the idea of it is evil. Money is a tool, and anyone can use it as and what they wish to. So money is an incredible thing that can be used to create wonderful fruit forests and plant yourself an organic fruit garden that is able to provide you every essential vitamin and mineral that is needed for the body to work in balance and homeostasis.
And the concepts of many will be, let's leave all this and stop all that, but the journey to that, if that's your goal, you have to use a certain amount of the system. So having a grudge against it or having a resentment against it really won't cause any balance within the body. It will cause that chaos again. So
which is going to draw in chaos, and the ideas that you have about the evil nature is going to make you feel like everything is evil to do with this. So you're actually experiencing the thought forms that you've created in your own individual universe. So this is why one of the most important things we can do on the journey, which we'll be bringing a new and extensive course of the virtues over the next coming months, is to really sweeten the perception. Because being sweet in every thought, every action, will take you as close as you can be to the enlightenment that is possible. And as we're talking about triggers, I just wrote this down as when you're going through the processes and you actually become aware of what's triggering you, and you're aware that it's just the thought processes, you tend to have triggers. Triggers can last for weeks. For some people, they hold anger, resentment.
Years, isn't it?
Days.
Talk to anyone for the rest of their life.
Cut them off. Yeah. You don't have to speak to people who, are unkind or not on the same level as you, but you don't hold the idea within you, because this is what causes you internal suffering.
I mean, Joe on the chat just mentioned it's exhausting, and it really is. That is a great word to express it, because it tires out the body, it tires out the mind. Is an emotion or a spiritual connection to something, that's not even there.
You're not using your faculties in the correct way, which is like the intelligence, ego, and you have this imagination. The imagination dreams of the future, separates you, worries, creates anxieties, but it can also be a wonderful tool inside your awareness. And then you also have the intelligence, which has seen and collected information, experiences, events, and now has this synchronized ideology that will present to you. And usually we look at the negative things and have depression and have the idea that we should change these things. So it's learning this powerful tool that we have
and this to create magic. Expansive. It's true magic.
This is all that magic truly is. It's actually being able to recognize the phenomenal reality that we're within as the truth. We're looking for this incredible display of magic. Okay. And then within yourself, as awareness, there was no thing, and you were aware of this. And through the expansive conscious evolution, forms and experiences and relationships and all these things have come to fruit. But it's because you're looking and identifying with objects and the conceptual world.
External.
Is why we don't see these things, but we only see from within. And I always say, The most important things intellectually that will help you as close as you can get is ask yourself a few questions. Talk to yourself in your head. Is that audible? Can that be heard by your physical ears? What is hearing this? Is there something that is just aware, and where is the display coming from? Ask yourself the chicken and the egg, which came first? Because that is an impossibility. There is no possibility that an egg just rolled into creation and a chicken was born, because even that chicken would need another chicken, specifically the opposite sex, to create another baby with.
The Immaculate Conception.
The Immaculate Conception. So when you get closer to these questions, you realize that the only possible intellectual reasoning or reason that this could have ever come to fruit is it's a dream. And then you try to remember your dreams, and you experience the dreams. You recognize the dreams. And within your dream, you realize that you have actually a body to identify with. You have experiences of communicating with others, maybe tasting food. And it was so very real. But the one which was conscious and experiencing these things, or viewing these experiences, is no different than the one which views it here. But the psychology has kind of fragmented you into the belief that you're this body, not the consciousness that all the screen arises within. And this is a massive shift within ourselves. And we can have this, with a dedication to the truth, it can be very, very rapid.
But take that gratitude that you have in your heart, and really see what magic we can create with our intention, our love, our expression. We have this incredible avatar, this vessel that we reside in at the moment. We have our senses, our touch, our smell, our sight, all of these heightened senses, the hearing, what we can hear every day. And all of these senses go through so much all day. We don't take on board not even a small percentage of it. And everyone says how amazing the new iPhone is for the picture images. Look at our eyes, what images they can capture.
Take it in with your eyes.
Present moment, bring it back to that every time, and know that, like the touch, our DNA, for instance, the cells within our body can hold so much memory. And yet this small iPhone that's just come out that everyone wants to know about and speak about and learn about.
Truly, water is way more intelligent than an iPhone. People drink it every day.
Our DNA, like a tiny drop of our DNA, would be much more intelligent than an iPhone that's just come out, or something that everyone wants to know about just because it's on the media. If we take that step back and really bring ourselves to that presence and see how magical we truly are, none of this arguing and seclusion of the
sorry, what was that word?
Seclusion of the the areas in the world would happen, because it's just all silly arguing about something that doesn't really matter. But when we bring ourselves to the present moment, we can really see the beauty of everything.
And beauty is also a perception that we have. We can look at the day as raining and it's bad, I can't go out, or we can just look at the beauty of it and realize what it's doing on a fundamental level is watering the nature. It's for the earth, bringing a water table under the ground. It's just it's complete homeostasis.
That cycle of life. And it's so delicate yet intricate and so beautiful. And when you can see it for what it truly is, and not be bogged down with all of that chatter of what we've got to do and what needs to be done and who's speaking about this and
I've got to do all this later, and you're consistently thinking about the future, which is causing you this aggravation, separation, anger. And essentially, this is the work of the virtues. And when you can actually be present and realize that and see that you're so taken in thought and the concepts that you've lost this ability to be free. And then the more you recognize this, the more you have the ability to just let these things go and then focus the attention back into the present moment. And this incredible phenomenal reality that you're experiencing can be unified with yourself. it is a wonderful journey. And we had response and react, and they were two separate words, and one being egoic and one being kind of freeing. One rightfully establishes the sine wave of light on the sine wave of ether, and one is rightfully establishing the alpha, seeing the physical. So one is fundamentally left brain, and the other one is fundamentally right brain, which could be the light brain as well.
The response is, you can respond in so many different ways. It's like a sensory aspect of our bodies as well. Like we respond to heat and we respond to cold, we respond to light, we respond to sound. So all of these aspects of responsiveness is like almost like a presentness about us. And the reactive state is very much from that egoic,
volatile chemical reactions.
And the acting part is in the word for itself, that you don't take that present moment and respond to it. It's very much like the second after your response happens, yes, I need to react like this to be a part of society, or I need to react like this to have keep my pride up, or something like that. So your response is a more of a natural aspect of the being, and then the reaction comes after, because you need to uphold the very sternness of the being to keep that pride safe. Coming from the heart space, you'll always find that balance and that truth, and this comes right the way back to what we were speaking of at the start. If you apply your truth and walk your truth and be your truth, none of this reactivity will come up.
It's like walking through a jungle, and on the floor was a rope, and it was dark, and it was just visible, and naturally this reaction happens from the ego identifying with the rope as a snake. Then you have all this emotional rush, you've moved into fight or flight, and then the sun comes up, and you realize it was just a piece of rope.
And then you have all of that adrenaline and that emotion to deal with that's caused chaos within, and it takes hours and hours to rebalance the body from all of that emotional upset. So.
Yeah, and it takes a lot of energy, as someone was speaking of earlier. I think it was Joe. And you said it's so much easier, and there's so much energy to use when you identify. This is why when you switch over from content to field, or ego to self, that you don't need to expend as much energy. Your sleep quota goes down, and everything in your whole experience is kind of effortless, rather than having to make such effort for your experience to work.
On that energetic level, the more in tune you are with the vessel, the avatar, is you will feel certain aspects. I know with communication, it's sort of around the throat area. Sometimes in the tummy you can feel upset if you have like an emotional energetic block, and those things can be worked through as well, because those come from fears and anxieties that you may have had a program inserted when you were younger, or traumas that may come up, and really getting to grips with those and looking in deep to where the areas that you might feel triggered in those aspects is
you are the source of everything. All your emotions, all your conflict, all your sadness, depression, anxiety. It just takes a subtle amount of awareness to be able to move through these ideas, and then the more you are aware, the less you identify with them, and you don't suffer.
And we have that common one that Josh mentions. The issue is always you.
It's you, and there's nobody else. So we just work on ourselves and allow others to do the same. And just be kind and virtuous, and life will always work out. You shall be protected by the Holy Father in your virtuous manner. Finn asked, does 23, 11, and 33 represent balancing? As I seem to have come across those numbers a lot when I'm in the pure flow. For example, I usually be the 23rd viewer, or 11th, or 33. Symbolically, 11 is let's just quickly go through it for those that maybe haven't already gone through it with us or seen our other videos. 11, this is L. So 11, or the 11th letter, is L in the alphabet. 22 is V. Now, in Freemasonry, which is free, Mason is builder. It's a free builder, someone that is building their temple up to become free. And this is where the abyss would come in, because building something has to be let go of, because this is all physical, but we'll go into this later. So we have 11, which is L-even. These are the two L's, AL and EL. Left AL, right EL. Left brain, right brain, Cain and Abel. To become enable, you need to live in Abel. So the number 11 is a representation of the temples, which also are represented in religion and the experience, such as the twin pillars, twin towers, 9, 11. 9 is consciousness number I, 11 is this, balancing it out. This is why there was a ground zero after it was collapsed, because this is the abyss. This is the nothingness. Now, when you have balanced your temples, you then go to L. Sorry, L is 12. 11 is K. K is a representation of a masculine and a feminine V balancing within it as its symbology. So balancing these will lead you to 12, which is the L. And in the words 12, you can hear twa, which is to, twine, and to twin, which is to join. The L's. So you're marrying these L's together.
So I just wanted to touch on, so the 11 is the K. So that's like the masculine, and then we have the feminine V.
But also, if you see, the K is also a line, a masculine line, and a V for the feminine.
Balancing. And then we've got the divine child as the 33. And when you go around, because obviously we've got the 26 here, when you go around the alphabet, the 33 lands on the G, and that's the divine child. So we have like the Trinity, so it's like the Holy Trinity of the master numbers. So we've got the golden ratio at that point, which then makes the pentagram, yes, isn't it? But we haven't got the 3, so it makes the star.
So 3 golden ratio triangles create the 5-pointed star, which is the earliest example of the Trinity. But quickly going back to this, essentially the 11, which is balancing the hemispheres, 22 is V. If you look at the V, it's actually the 11, but joined. So this is a higher level of mastery. And then these two added together would create the 33, which then is full circled around the alphabet to G, which is where the Freemasons use G within the masculine and feminine symbology. If anyone is familiar with vortex mathematics or magnetism, you'll see that this is actually the nature or the net of magnetism. And that's another journey.
We do have a few videos on those kind of topics, don't we, as well? So we can link those.
Yeah, we can. And also you may search through the library and find them as well.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to, Josh just mentioned the 9/11. There's a lot of aspects that are linked to those numbers. And I did want to bring up just one of them because there was some questions previous to this chat as well, and it's about protein. There's, as you guys mostly know, there's a huge myth about protein and how it helps our body and where we source it from. 9/11, there are the essential and non-essential amino acids within the body. 9 essential ones and 11 non-essentials. And I just wanted to go over a tiny bit about protein, seeing as we mentioned about training and food, because where we get our protein from and how it breaks down in the body, the simplest form is the amino acids. And when they are in their simple form and we ingest them, our body doesn't have to go through a huge process to break it all apart. Now, these are in fruits, and if you have a nice array of fruit and you eat abundance of fruit, you will be having adequate protein. Now, the only way that it can be depleted is if you're not eating enough or not consuming enough. And the amino acids that we have are so readily available in the fruits that we are consuming that there's no acidic process that our body needs to go through to break it down, like as in meat.
Amino acid.
Yeah, so I mean, I know you.
But as protein as well, protein is synthesized in the body via amino acids and glucose/fructose. So these bond within the body and create this new protein. When we are actually consuming protein, this is why animal products have got such a, let's say, a stigmata attached to them that they're a necessary form of food, because there's not this true understanding by many of how this function works. So protein that you eat is actually found in animal tissue because the animals created that from amino acids and a form of sugar, let's say, just not artificial sugar, but a form of glucose. And that's been created to create this tissue. So you're eating the tissue, which is protein, but that was synthesized by the animal. Now, if you're consuming protein sources like animal products, your body has to then take this protein source and break it down into
hugely acidic,
into branched chain amino acids to then try to then put them back together in a way that is bonded with your body, acid forming and depleting to a lot of the reserves in our system.
So if we're trying to heal, or we need any form of healing within our body, all of our blood has to go to the digestive system to help break down this heavy, complex animal that we're eating. So we need to then think, right, all of the blood is there, so there's no room for healing. So this is why a lot of beings get instant gratitude from when they eat fruit coming from a standard Western diet, because all the toxins that they had before will not be there anymore and dissipate, and then they come to this fruit lifestyle, and then what happens over time is they're not getting enough of the vitamins and minerals, and then they say, oh, actually, plant-based isn't for me, vegan isn't for me, because I'm not feeling great anymore. And this is where they trip up, because they're not having the checks and they're not getting the right amount of supplementation that they need. Now, all of the animals that they were eating before were getting the supplements. So now 95% of the B12 supplementation goes into farmed animals.
Not to mention that when you're moving away from a processed diet, a Western diet, everything that you're consuming is pretty much fortified. From your breakfast cereal to your milk.
So we need to cut out the middleman. So this is secondary vitamins, secondary minerals. Everything that's going into these things are put into them when we can just eat the natural source, but we need to know that that natural source is enough for us. And unfortunately, the soil that it's grown in and the minerals that they use in the commercial places aren't enough.
You're just deficient in a few things. It's going to be iodine, it's going to be cobalt, and essentially vitamin D's.
But the only reason that the guys that are on the standard Western diet are getting these are from this fortification process and from these animals that are getting injected with these vitamins and minerals. So, cutting out the middleman, as they say, and going straight to the source is 1,000 times better.
Yeah, it's going to be so much beneficial for your consciousness, for your health, for your reactivity.
The body won't be in an acidic state, so therefore you won't be getting these illnesses, these chronic conditions. So, when there's that argument of the B12 and all this, yes, they do get it from the animals, but the animals are not getting it from a pure source. They're getting it from...
Not farmed animals, you see. And the only thing that actually produces it is a bacteria that feeds off cobalt. And this puts it into the food and into the soil. So animals would
starts with
get
the
everything
soil.
from plants, and there's so many different carnivore promoters out there that express that you need to have these certain elements that are only found in meat. Now, yes, these elements that they express are only found in meat because the body produces them. Every single thing that a meat eater will come at you with, especially a doctor, because all of these things that they're sharing have no true cognitive appreciation and gnosis. It's just one person to the next to the next. You need this because it's not found in your plants. Every animal that people consume feeds on plants. These animals create it from liver, for example, and then you eat that animal because you believe you need it when your body makes it. Now, the deterioration of your body, let's say testosterone, for example, most people's testosterone when they reach 40 or even 30, I think it is, in the 30s, they say that it really depletes, and there's a big craze going on right now that people are starting to use like testosterone replacement therapy. You can see that it's going to be a thing in the future. If you do any research, you'll find out that in the 90s, there were studies done with vegans and vegetarians that had way higher levels than any type of meat eater. The studies didn't really go on for very long, but we've had mine tested quite recently, within the last 6 months, isn't it? And 28 is the limit. I think it's 13 to 28. And mine was like 42. So the normal standard westernized beings kind of have a highest level of 28, and mine was way, way above this.
Mine was like 52, and
then just joking. Good joke. And so we got, there's the proof there, but you're never going to know this unless you experience it yourself.
And I wanted you to put this one up because I know a lot of the guys have seen the amino acid sign before, but it actually says it in the word.
Yeah, and fruit as well. So we'll just get the fruit up. Fruit essentially says it's for you, doesn't it? And amino acid is amino acid. And we can look at consciousness, or we can look at language as a form of the expressive way that consciousness is there for us to see or wake up within and become aware of. So your amino acids and your fruit is for you, and even the religious scriptures say that the seed-bearing fruit or the seed-yielding fruit is for you, for meat. All the other parts of the Bible, that have been put in forms of allegory, like putting sheep on your doorstep at a certain time of year. I've actually known people that have done this because they believe in these as doctrines, to follow them to a T. We need to use our own inner expression. And previously to this point, evolution and consciousness wasn't ready to actually have this information that would allow people to lead to their higher self, because consciousness wasn't actually ready for this. But all through periods of time, we've had beings, namely enlightened beings, to share information that was left there, that stood the test of time, for those that have the ability to see within the lines and apply their own truths, will help them elevate to a certain state. This is what Misha was saying earlier, the Immaculate Conception. One day I was looking at the word and I realized this is an incredible thing. You don't ever really see these words being deciphered or seen or recognized for what they truly are. Recognized, align the cognitive function, and see, it's the Immaculate Conception. Jesus was the man, and Christ was what he became when he let go of the idea of the man and all concepts. Immaculate is to be clean, pure. Conception is concepts. So Christ was born of Immaculate Conception when he let go of the ideas that were personified and keeping me into personal identification, leading him to an elevated state of consciousness, EL-eve-8, evening these L's within the 8 as it's innate within us. We are innate. It's all about the energetic reciprocation. But even energy itself was an idea within the one to create the idea of separation and experience, which is such an incredible thing when one has the ability to see. And again, we're speaking of food. Realize.
When you have that realize, or the real eyes to see, and when you're ready for it, it becomes a whole different story. So you may read the Bible one day and take it as a literal text and think that everyone goes around killing these animals and we should have dominion over
And it's
the...
okay to eat certain types of
But
meat.
as soon as that switches and you have that realization of it's an allegory because it's magic and only the virtuous see through it.
And those that get hoodwinked shall be led because they are supposed to be led.
And the meek will inherit the earth because of this. The virtuous path is always going to be the righteous path because you take those steps to clean out everything, take away the chatter, clean the vessel, feel free from the illness, the disease, and the entrapment of the illusions. And this is where the freedom comes from. And then you see the text, the same text, with the realization that it's not literal.
Those that seek shall find. CK, which is balance, which is the 11, which is EL-eve-8. So those that are seeking should only be seeking one thing, balance. And essentially this is it. Everything is okay as long as it doesn't affect you. You don't create thought forms or demons. D is to remove, mon is the one, mono is one. To remove yourself from oneness or at atonement, which is at one meant, is only done in thought. You were okay until you thought about it. I liked them until someone did something that I didn't agree with. You know, and this is just going to continue to go on as a war within inside ourselves time and time again. And, you know, our message to everyone is to become your own doctor, to become your own scientist.
It's very much the holistic package that we love to see because it's very, very empowering for the being to be in harmony in all aspects. So, you know, take those small steps, but really work on the holistic package rather than just, you know, we see a lot of beings online, especially that are very, very good at one thing. And that's amazing. But what about the rest of the...
Yeah, you identify with the very thing that you're good at. And it's not something which is bad or good. It's just something that might be halting your own in evolution. You know, be open to the world, be open to everything. Do not love the world or anything in it. You know, this idea, people think, I can't love the world. I suggest you love absolutely everything, but recognize the world. Recognize that which it does, that which its purpose is, and see that it's absolutely divine in its creation. Don't get aggressive or angry towards the world and try to change it, because that idea says that creation and perfection isn't true. You know, the world serves its absolute purpose is Babylon. Be able on to enable yourself. You know, the Kabbalah is K-able. Balance, EL-eve-8, able to create able. The Kabbalah is the K-abler, to enable yourself. People just don't actually look at the true science and symbolism or even have the occult knowledge to really judge that situation. But you see it, everything is pointing to what we're trying to share with you. It's just the absolute magic that lies within yourself, and recognizing that within inside your awareness, the status quo has programmed your consciousness to create a box that you identify with the body, that you must find yourself again and bring yourself a level of freedom, which is liberation. Liber is free. At-ion is energetic level. Once you free your energy, you unblock the chakra system. You create this kundalini surge of energy within inside yourself, and your perception will never be the same.
So when Josh was just speaking then, we've got those two sides of the ball, the Bible, the by, the two. And as soon as we bring it into balance, so we're in a hugely alpha wave here with the programming and the aspects of separation. As soon as we bring balance by coming this way slightly, which is the more connected...
Shouldn't do this, should do this, shouldn't do this, should do this.
It's the area of like virtuous living. So this brings us into balance. It doesn't pull us to this side by being super virtuous. It's just changing that aspect of hugely this side. So we're just drawing ourselves into balance and then maintaining that balance through as much as you can through those baby steps, because going from left to right, as Josh just showed you, is detrimental to the health.
The realm, creator, the earth, these are just examples of the ENA, which is Taurus energy fields. It's the ENA that reciprocate the masculine and feminine, creating the divine. The divine is Di, which is DNI, which is form consciousness, which even if you look in the scientific world, Di is a state that is the closest proximity that two energies, opposing factors, positive and negative, masculine, feminine, can be, and at that point they discharge or release light and plasma.
And the Di state is where you experience death of the ego.
To die is to learn to die is to be liberated from death.
And this is the state of the great abyss, is where the ashes of the ego will be led there in the abyss, and this is where you rise again.
And the phoenix,
born again.
And the phoenix is pH, and P is light and H is vibration. So anything with a pH is represented as etherical or light. So this is why the phoenix is spelt such a way. It's the light vibration that will rise within. And obviously the X is on the end, which marks the spot of pure balance. And this is a symbol of masculine and feminine energy.
Within.
Unite, unity, unity, together. See, everyone here, man, woman, female, male, mankind is all male in its energy. We are in search of the divine feminine. And in that search, we can elude ourselves on a journey external to ourselves.
Josh might have upset a few feminists out there.
It's okay. It was for you.
It was a teaching.
And the issue lies within you. But this is essentially what it is. So we just have to really recognize the illusions that we hold that cause us separation, and work on them each and every day until we can just not pick up the ideas.
And speaking of those kind of triggers, if anything like that triggers the emotion that's connected to the feminine aspect of the physical realm, the man and the woman, it really is a time to look within and feel like, what is offending me? Why am I feeling so much resentment against that comment? Because not just that comment, but this is a really good one to pick up on, because there are set groups out there that I'm a feminist, I'm in this group, I'm in this category, and it's actually letting go of that.
Let those other people do it. Yeah. Absolutely. Because that's a natural function of consciousness itself. But you, seeing the screen of consciousness, can actually hold on to the idea and personify yourself with it, then create an emotional conflict, which is not necessary. So the world itself is an absolute tool for you to either personally identify with it as all content arises, or become free and observe it without any judgment on it.
Such great teachings and great understanding of the being inside is that knowing what triggers you and stripping away those gradually by practicing and putting yourself into those situations and listening to people or beings that you find hard to be around. Why is it I'm finding it hard? What's
you don't
the trigger
like them. First person's trying to come out.
Get away.
This is essentially the great work. Is truly GREAT. G being the 7 or the 33. The R being the reciprocating field of the E and A within the physical. The work is war with K. K is balance, it's EL-eve-8. There's this great war going on between good and evil within inside each and every one of those who are identifying personally with concepts. And we don't need to. So take your time, observe them, don't identify. Give the attention into the present moment as much as you can until you dissolve this identity that was once making your character so strong.
I'm going to say, if you have any war, go raw, and then maybe
you go raw, you allow yourself that space,
that balance. No, but honestly, if there is internal war, then no matter how good you eat, if the emotional state is not stable and not balanced, the chaos that's going on inside is also an acidic factor that your body will express outwardly. So you'll find that those illnesses.
So much release of all these negative things at the wrong time, which just make us feel so bad within. Adrenaline, cortisol can be very destructive.
And these are when the animals get slaughtered just before
Christmas, your turkey.
Their death on this earth plane. They release the hormones of stress, so the cortisol and the adrenaline, and that goes straight into the muscle because it's fight or flight. And then these muscles are what beings are eating, and then they're having to take on board all of these stress hormones. And this is why there's so much destruction within the beings at the moment, and there's so much chronic illnesses, and you're seeing all these new illnesses coming up in the young children.
And then the new concept of carnivorism aligning at the same time, and others that have failed on a plant-based, whole food, raw, fruitarian diet because
through lack of truth and gnosis and empowering yourself. Because when Josh and I started this journey, we were empowering ourselves with the knowledge and the trial and error that it comes with.
Yeah, I'd say that there's a belief with information that's synchronized, and then when you apply the information, it becomes knowledge. K now is K no, balance with the now. You've won K if you reverse the word. So to truly know is not to believe, it's actually experienced, and then there's this wisdom that lies within. And I think that's the most important thing. And along the journey of acquiring your own personal wisdom to liberate yourself from identity, you just have to give yourself that level of space. Everything is okay. People who eat meat is absolutely fine. It's supposed to be this way. Animals that are being slaughtered, it's fine. It's supposed to be this way. Let's not have the idea that causes us suffering and separation to do this.
But empower yourself with that gnosis of, do I need to eat meat to be healthy?
And if you feel like you don't, there is a reason why you feel like you don't, because it's not inanimate. It's not an absolute response for you to look at an animal and instinctively chase it or try to bite it. You don't have any salivation when an animal's dying or bleeding. You tend to have this feeling within you that's, almost disgusted by seeing this. We don't have the canines, we don't have the digestive system, and we don't have the, like I said, the reactivity towards instinctual behavior towards these things.
But we spoke about the senses being, does my sight want to visually eat that? Does my touch want to stroke it or want to pick the hair out and eat it? Does my taste like it when it's in its raw state?
Warm.
Does my ears like hearing the sounds of it when I kill it? It's like the whole concept of it.
You have to mask every sense for it to become a food system from a young age. Now, I speak to people and consult people often, and there seems to be this reoccurring factor of people who've been on a plant-based journey or a whole food journey or raw. After about 5 years, they begin to fail because they're not feeling right. Now, everyone who's feeling like that, I suggest them to go and get their blood levels checked. It comes back with B12 deficiency and vitamin D deficiency. Vitamin D, even people in India, there was a study done, 90 to 99% of Indians were deficient in vitamin D. In England and other countries that are not equatorial or very close to the equator, you can't absorb any vitamin D from October to March. And if you're not outside, fully bathing regularly each and every day, you're going to be very deficient. If you go to work, if you wear clothes, if you stay indoors, example. So, and also vitamin B12 is significantly deficient because the commercial industries don't have cobalt in their soils. So this bacteria that usually feeds and creates the vitamin that's absorbed by the plant life is not there. So everyone or many beings are deficient. There was a question here that somebody said, how do they know? It was Sister Summer. Barrett will need some supplementation. How do I know which supplements are pure and good for him? It's very difficult. You're going to have to do a search for, pure, clean, no fillers, no bulking agents, etc.
We are in the process.
Because of this has become very prevalent to us, like over the last sort of year, dealing with so many people and helping them through it and just seeing how quickly they become better. Initial signs are like numbness, tingling, lethargy, lack of energy, We have just been in contact with like a holistic vitamin company who make wholesale vitamins, and we're trying to create this perfect blend that, you know, anyone who's removed themselves from commercial eating, so you're not having any fortification and you're not having any animal products. Again, like we said earlier, the animal products are fortified themselves. So through wintertime and summertime, be different ratios of like the vitamin D levels, but there are these essential things like the iodine, vitamin B12, and the vitamin D, which will keep everyone feeling absolutely incredible. Now, speaking with people who've actually gone back to eating meat, they feel better initially for a short period of time, and then the acidosis kicks in and they start to deplete and start to feel very ill and unwell again. So there's this balance that we have to find, and we are in duality. So it's up to us to stay calm and stay balanced as individuals, experiencing, use the intelligence wisely, take our time, study, and then become wise to why this is. So we've come to that stage now. We're seeing it, you know, time and time again. There is a need for it now. In the ideal world, nobody wants to take supplementation. And until you get yourself to a garden in nature, equatorial, where everything is perpetually perfect for humans without any interaction of chemicals, Babylon, commercial world, there is an unfortunate need for such a thing.
Remember that the supplements are given to all of the meat and dairy industry. So if anyone wants to have a look into supplementation and beings ask you why you're taking it on this holistic journey, it's that when you take that out of your diet, the meat and dairy that are heavily influenced by these commercial drug companies, all of these are being added, plus antibiotics, all of these chemicals that are used,
growth hormones,
fillers,
steroid injections, things like
so
this.
you're not just getting the vitamins and minerals that they're pumping in to keep these humans functioning.
Yeah.
It's the added things that are making everyone ill during that process as well. And all of these new illnesses, chronic illnesses that the children are getting that weren't ever there before is because of all these toxic foods that they're being given. So although the fruit and vegetables might not be grown with the vitamins and minerals that are optimum, you know, at least we're on this holistic journey and doing the healthiest,
to heal thyself, you know,
most beneficial route that we can on this journey until, you know, you get the land yourself and you can work with the soil and be with that nature and thrive from it that way. Which
is obviously the optimum lifestyle for a human, utilizing the creative nature of plant life to feed us. Planty. T is physical, planty. That's why plant is spelt and fruited in such a way. You know, you have plant machinery which create and plant physical buildings. You have plants which create physical forms for our food, and everything is here for us to see if we can.
And then there's a CD.
Yeah, the seed, and D is form, and like CK is to seek, seed is to CD, which is to see form. And you have such a relationship. I mean, life can be observed in such a way and so acutely that you get the senses of all the things that surround you, even sleeping. You know, for example, when you sleep, our body is rich in iron as we are from the earth. And if we sleep with our head towards in the southern hemisphere, towards the north, and our head's pointing this way, what will happen over time is, due to the magnetic pull from the center pole, let's say, or from the field, the iron that's within the body can tend to accumulate and sit towards the head for too long, thus giving too much metal towards the brain as such, into the blood, and actually decreases the ability for, you know, function, and also can lead to an early death. So just having even knowledge like this to make sure you have a little compass and you don't point yourself in the direction of the north in the southern hemisphere and the south in the southern hemisphere, then this is an acquired knowledge. Now, East is going to be the best. It aligns the body in balance and still allows all the function to happen and reciprocate within the body.
This is all magnetism basics. So, and empowering the self with magnetism is really a great.
What's the key to the energetic realm of physicality?
This is where we are residing at the moment, in this magnetic realm. So, having that, even that basic gnosis, really helped, didn't it, initially for us? And
magnetism is a key to, develop your awareness with inside physical nature and the energetic layer that lies behind it. It reveals all the misconceptions to do with the earth, the field, the shape, the geometry, and how the world relays the truth behind the lie, which is the spherical or oblate spheroid, which is the torus shape, which is the field that creates the plane of inertia geometry, which allows energetic or light to exist, which then has been created by the organic intelligence that can allow one to fall into the awareness of physicality as the true experience.
And being that energetic being and as the self, it has that aspect of as within, so without. So when we speak of that, it's like we are the universe and the universe is within us.
But you are, let's put this right, you are not in the world or in the universe. The universe and the world are in you. And if you sit with that and recognize that and keep focusing your attention on such ideas, this should continue to reaffirm yourself away from the external. You are not in the world is in you. And on that note, sorry, can I say the head direction again, sister? Yeah. So if you are living in Australia or those ends, you want your head to be away from the south. And if you're in are we in the northern hemisphere? We are, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yes. You don't want your head to be facing towards the north.
So whatever hemisphere you're in,
oppose it. Yeah. So just thank you all so much for your energy being with us, your love, your time.
It was great to be here with you.
It was such a wonderful evening to share some love and energy with you. If we missed any of your questions, please join us on the next one. If you haven't already joined the X family, please do so. Come and support us. Meet your conscious family. Work together to find yourself in a greater place. And
so that's xfamunity.com.
And we look forward to, in the near future, continuing creating these wonderful organic fruit forests with perpetual nature that will provide everything that one needs to live in pure balance in the physical. But we love you all. Take care. Have a wonderful evening, a wonderful day.
Love to you.
Stay warm. It's very cold.
Gratitude for
and just so much love
today.
for you. Thank you so much. Enjoy your day because it's within. Take care.